What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. So we got an episode of Down South Bowl, and I really don't post Down South Bowl videos, but I like to cook. I really like to cook, and in this video I'm basically prepping a bunch of different stuff. Usually on Sunday or Saturday, I will prep a bunch of stuff for the week. That way I can just go ahead and have stuff done, so I ain't gotta worry about it, especially the beginning of the week, because I don't want to do shit. I don't want to cook nothing. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to come home and eat and go to sleep. So I'm basically making kind of I don't even know what I made. I made meatballs. I made meatballs. I always keep ground turkey on hand just because I can do anything with it. Like if I want to make ground beef, or ground turkey, but for tacos, if I want to make meatballs, if I want to make meatloaf, if I want literally I could do whatever. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I always keep it on hand, just because I also don't really eat beef that much. Like the most I will eat when it comes to beef is if I have beef ribs, or if I get steak once a month or once every couple months, so yeah, meat and ground turkey go together real well. And also chicken, I use chicken all the time. But anyways, I had these cut up vegetables that had basically cut up the day before, whatever, and they're onions, yellow onions. I have red bell peppers, yellow bell peppers, and green bell peppers. And I decided to just put these with the meatballs, because I sometimes I just like to switch stuff up. Usually I don't do this, but every now and then you just want to do something different, and just switch it up when it comes to the food, because I am someone, I can eat the same food for a very short amount of time, and then after I get addicted to it, and that phases out, I'm yeah, I don't want to eat this for another month or two, because I'm yeah, I'm done with this. But yeah, basically what I was doing is I was basically rolling all them into little balls and placing them on top of the bell peppers. This just made more sense in my head. But yeah, I usually wear gloves when I make stuff like this, just because I feel I don't know, in my head, I prefer to wear gloves when I work with meat or certain materials. And yeah, so I just do it. But it's just for the people at the house, so it don't really matter technically. But yeah, this is the first thing I decided to do, just because whenever I'm trying to meal prep different things, I like to get whatever needs to be in the oven first, and the longest I try to do that first, and then that way I can work on everything else while that's cooking in the background, if that makes sense. So yeah, me and the oven go together real well. And since it's getting cooler outside, I mean, it's really not that cool, it's still warm, decently warm, and it ain't hot where I'm running into the store or trying to run into the house. But anyways, yeah, since it's getting a little bit warmer, you'll probably see more crockpot videos as I start doing stuff. And then I had these tomatoes that I got from the store, and I decided to just add them on to the dish and stuff, because might as well. Usually when I'm making stuff, I just look in the fridge, I'm okay, we got this, let me use this, because I need to figure out how to incorporate this into the meal. And then I always keep some minced garlic on hand. I've been getting the one that's in olive oil, and yeah, I actually get the big jars now, and I get the organic brand from Kroger, but it's really not that big of a deal. And then once I have it in there, I have to set timers. I know a lot of people, they don't like to set timers, they be oh, that's doing too much. But it's baby, when I be doing stuff, especially on the weekend, when I'm trying to do housekeeping stuff, or I'm trying to record makeup videos or do whatever, basically, if I'm not going to be in the kitchen, I definitely need a timer on, because I will forget. And then next thing you know, I'm something smell like it's burning, and now I done burnt the damn food. So we're trying not to burn the food, so set a timer. You can set it on your phone, but for me, I just like to set it on the kitchen, on the stove or on the microwave, just because it's easier for me and a little bit more convenient. So now that is in the oven, I'm taking out these frozen sausages that we had got whenever, I can't remember at this point in this video, so ain't no telling. But I put those in the oven because I want to make breakfast bagels, and then once that's doing that, bless you, that was shadow that just sneezed. But anyways, I got these not heart of palm, these king oyster mushrooms. I got these from Trader Joe's, and I just decided to just cut them up long ways, and I was gonna marinate them. I didn't really know what to do with them at first. I just saw them and I thought that they were cool. I love to have mushrooms, we eat mushrooms a lot, so I was let me try these, because these are the ones I normally go for. So I was you know what, I'm just gonna cut them up into little strips, and I'm just gonna marinate them, and then I can just cook them on the stove where I can bake them. So that was my game plan for that. And yeah, I just there's certain knives I like to use when I chop up stuff. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but this is one of my favorite knives to chop up stuff. It just makes it so much easier, and I can chop up anything with it, because I feel there are certain knives you cannot cut up certain vegetables with, because it's not sharp enough, or it's just hard to go through the veggie skin or whatever. But yeah, I just like to like try to do different things when it comes to me cooking, because yes, I like to do like the same things. Like once I get the groove on a certain recipe, I will like add it in rotation. But sometimes I just like to experiment, especially when it comes to like what do I have left, like at home or whatever. So I added a little bit of teriyaki sauce that I had, or I think that was actually stir fry sauce. It might have been stir fry sauce, can't remember. But yeah, I just added that in, and I decided to add some of these bell pepper in, just because why not? Why not? And then I'm taking some salt and I'm seasoning everything. So always gotta add salt. We usually have like pink Himalayan salt, and then I added some Cavendish seasoning just because that's what I like to use on like my meat. So I was like, usually when it comes to me like creating like a vegan or like vegetarian like meats or whatever, like I like to add like the same seasonings that I would add for whatever meat I would be cooking. So that's how I go about it. And then some of my favorite seasonings are paprika, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, sea salt. So those are things that I always gotta keep on deck. And then like ranch seasoning too, I like to have that on deck too. And nutritional yeast, I had nutritional yeast in like some different things. Like back in the day when I was vegan and vegetarian, like I would use like nutritional yeast for like the cheese sauces or like certain dishes and stuff that I would make, and you still can do that. I just like to add it into different things now, so I always have a little bag on deck. I just get it from Kroger. It used to be so hard to find, but now I feel like there's so many like vegan, oh my god, I know I did not say that, but there's so many vegan and vegetarian products that back in like 2017 2016 they were so hard to find, and now it's just a little bit easier to find them. And while I'm like doing everything else, I decided to go ahead and boil some eggs, because like we just always need boiled eggs. Like you can have them for salad, like you could just eat them plain or whatever. So I just like boil some in the background while I'm doing this. And I am about to scramble some eggs, and I have a bunch of eggs as you can see, and it's because I'm basically making these breakfast sandwiches with those bagels that you see in the background and that sausage that I'm cooking in the oven right now. So I like to use like disposable like bowls whenever I do eggs. I don't know, it's just like mentally like that just makes more sense to me. But I'm just mixing them up, and I just use a salt and black pepper. You can add whatever to it, but yeah, that's just what I was using. And the timer is about to go off for the things in the oven. So yeah, and then the water is finally heating up. So now the timer has gone off, so it's time for me to like check everything to make sure nothing's burning, and make sure if I need to do anything or like add any seasoning or like turn the meat. So since I just took them out, I decided to just go ahead and turn the meatballs. That way the top doesn't like get too hard, and that way like both sides can get a little crispy, so it's kind of like even, if that makes sense. I don't know, I guess technically you wouldn't have to do this, but I like to turn my meat halfway through the process or whenever I feel like the timer goes off, just so things don't burn and that like everything can kind of be like evenly cooked. But I just use tongs to like switch everything around. I could have moved the bell peppers, but that was like doing too much. But now that I've turned everything in, all right, now that I've turned everything over, I just went ahead and put it back in the oven, and now I'm taking out the sausages and I'm flipping them. And the good thing I did flip them, because baby, them things would have been burnt, and I don't know what on the other side. So I'm gonna keep them in the oven for like a little bit longer. They are pre-cooked, and really you don't even have to put them in the oven, you can microwave them. But whenever like I'm like meal prepping or I'm making a bunch of different things at once, it's easier for me to just put things in the oven while I use the stovetop to cook things that like necessarily have to be on the stove. But I'm setting a timer, that way I don't forget about it, because like I said, even though I'm in the kitchen and I'm doing different things, sometimes my mind does slip me, and sometimes I get started on something else, and it's just easier for me to keep up with how long things have been cooking by keeping the timer. Like sometimes I don't keep everything in until the timer goes off, but it's just nice to know like, okay, it's been like 5 minutes since I put this in, so maybe I need to watch it, like I might not have to keep it in for the full 20 minutes or whatever. And now that the skillet is finally hot, I'm going ahead and making these scrambled eggs. And yeah, I feel like scrambled eggs are like pretty easy to make, I guess. Like I don't know, I've been cooking for like years. Like I started cooking like for real when I was like younger and maybe like middle school or whatever. But like I actually do enjoy cooking, and like I just like realized that because I went to Michael's earlier today, and like they had some stuff on sale, and I was like in the like cooking section just because I need some stuff to make Oreo balls, because that's usually where I get the like candy melts from. That's like my favorite place to get them, and they have different colors and stuff. But I was like looking around because I saw some other stuff, and I just got so excited because I did give me like a baking dish for like if I want to do dips or like something like that. That's probably what I would use. And then they had like these little cups or like these plastic like jars, and I was like, well, I could do like a Halloween like spooky dessert with that. But it's just crazy to just see myself get excited over things that, like, I started doing like years ago and I've really been paying attention to. And I'm just adding shredded cheese on top just to melt it, just because I like eggs with cheese. I don't know, it just hits different. And Kobe Jack is like the best version of cheese. I don't know, like, I used to never eat this. Like, we only used to have like mild and cheddar at the house. But when I started cooking things myself, that's when I started, like, getting into like different products and like different cheeses, or just different varieties of things that, like, I necessarily didn't experience like when I wasn't the one cooking. But now that the sausages are done, I'm basically just putting them on a paper towel on a plate. That way I can drain off like any extra like oil and stuff, because I try not to have too many things with a lot of oil, like, because sometimes that will mess up my stomach and my gut health. With, I mean, it makes sense. But yeah, this just made sense for me to just go ahead and put them on a big plate so that I can like get any excess oil off while I'm doing everything else. And I basically didn't have the eggs like on, they may have been on like low as like the cheese was melting. But now my actual like boiled eggs are actually like boiling. So while they're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and make the sandwiches. So I'm just peeling apart these bagels. I had froze these bagels because when I got them, I was trying to figure out how to eat them, and then like I realized that, okay, I really didn't want them at the moment, so I just froze them. And that's one thing when it comes to me, like, if I like, I use something, or like when it comes to veggies, whatever, if I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't have any like, intention on using this anytime soon, so I just put it in the freezer just that way, I can have things, for when I really don't have the energy to cook, I really don't have the time to cook. And I put the sausage down first, and now I'm putting the eggs and cheese on top. And I actually ended up, like, I kept some of these in the fridge, and then I did freeze the rest of them, which I feel like is a good hack, because they have like those like breakfast sandwiches, the Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches. So basically we're just making them at home, like with the products that we have, and then I just freeze them, or I leave some in the fridge for the week, like how many ever I feel like I'm gonna use for the week, and then I just put everything else in the freezer. That way, whenever it comes down later on the month, when I ain't got no money, or I'm not able to get groceries and stuff, I have some stuff in the freezer to actually eat and stuff, so like we can actually have some actual food. And yeah, that's just like one thing. Like, I like to prep a breakfast thing like every week, and this time it was the bagels. I know this is not like this video is like months before like I'm actually like recording and editing it. But this week or the last week, I actually did like breakfast burritos with some stuff I had around the house. So it just switches up. It just depends on what we have and things that I'm like, okay, I need to use this because it's been a good little minute. And yeah, now that all them like the I can't think of it, the meatballs are done, which I probably kept them in for way too long. But sometimes I'll be overcooking stuff just because, like, I don't know, I'll be having like the fear that like I don't cook something long enough and I don't want to make anybody sick. But I probably just should look up the time, how long you should cook certain things, that way I don't burn anything. But yeah, I try to get all the bell peppers I could off, and then now we're basically just gonna like add a sauce to it. So I had this like what was it, Baby Ray's? Yeah, I don't even remember which one it was, but I just get whatever one I feel like at the moment. And then I'm adding this Thick and Hearty A1 sauce. The Thick and Hearty one is Chef's Kiss. Somebody put me on years ago, and you know what, that was one of the best things they've ever recommended to me. So shout out to them. But I'm basically just adding a little bit of water just to make the sauce a little bit like thinner, because I felt like it was gonna be too thick. And I just shook it up just to coat everything in there. And then now I'm just putting these bagels in the bag, because that's just the easiest way for me to store them in the fridge, I feel like, without like taking up a whole bunch of space. And yeah, just put them in the fridge like that. And then now we're pulling out some aluminum foil, because I have some other things I have to make. Like, when I tell you, certain days, like when I meal prep, I'll be doing 10 million different things at once. But it does help, just because sometimes like the week is busy and I don't have the energy or the time or like the desire to cook or do different things, but I want to be able to like have food like easily ready. So I decided to just go ahead and like make all of these cookies. I have not been able to eat these cookies in like forever. Like, last time I made them, like, I really just it wasn't hitting. I don't know, I feel like my body goes through changes all the time, and like I'll get like kind of tired of certain foods, and like certain foods will make me be like, yeah, I don't want that. But anyways, once I take my eggs off, I'm just putting them in like an ice bath, basically, just to cool them down. And I just take all the eggs first, put them on top of the ice, and then you'll see me add some like cold water on top. I just feel like this is like I don't know, this is just the way I've been doing this for a good little minute, and I do feel like it actually helps with, you know, actually like keeping or being able to like peel the shell off a little bit easier. So, you know, it's so habit, but you know, it makes sense. It makes sense. But yeah, this is me just covering it with that cold water, and then I'll just like let it sit to the side, and then I'll just drain it whenever the eggs cool down, and then I'll just put the eggs in the freezer. And this is what the cookies look like out of the oven. And now we're making some mashed potatoes for dinner to go with the meatballs. So I use like the packaged like potato mix. Sometimes I'll make them from scratch. Sometimes I ain't got the energy for that, and sometimes like, you know, I just buy them just in case, like, you know, we don't have any like real potatoes left. And then I'm just seasoning it. Added like salt. I'm adding black pepper. I'm adding a little bit of garlic powder. And then what else did I add? Let's see. I added a little parsley, but bro, I put way too much parsley. Oh my god, I didn't realize that it was that type of top. And yeah, I put way too much. And now I'm just adding some ghee. And I remember when I was like eating, I don't know if I was on like the paleo diet or whatever. I was like in high school, but I remember trying to find ghee, and like I literally could not find it anywhere. I think the only place I found it was like at Sprouts, and at that time I don't think there was any Whole Foods by us, so you know, I couldn't even try that. But yeah, me and Sprouts, like, we were locked in for a very long time. I haven't been there in forever. I do like to go to Sprouts for certain objects and stuff, but I wouldn't do my main grocery shopping at Sprouts. That's like the same thing for like Trader Joe's or like Whole Foods. But I haven't been to Whole Foods in forever, but I've been wanting to go in. But it's like in this, I feel like, inconvenient area of like Germantown, and I mean, I could go up in there, but yeah, I have to have big money if I'm going up in there. So yeah, but anyways, I love y'all so much, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.